talking about that, like feeling trapped, what do you think guys can do to avoid feeling like that? Because that's something that happens to a lot of people, and sometimes you don't even realize until it's almost too late.
I think it's really just context based. So when you say trapped, I mean, let's talk about, like, I guess we can reflect on my situation. I felt trapped because even though, okay, so subconsciously I felt trapped, but consciously I was rejecting it. I think what I mean by that is, like, I knew that there was something going on in my head that I didn't feel right in this relationship. I didn't feel like I had a voice in this relationship. Again, because of lack of self-identity, I just started doing anything my girl wanted to do. And I wanted to just say, you know what, it's all about whatever she wants is her happiness, because happy wife, happy life kind of nonsense.
What do you think that happens? Because I had similar things in my marriage where I was doing things to make her happy. And I think it's just a fine line. It's something very difficult because I wanted to make her happy. That was like something that I definitely wanted because that was going to make me happy.
Right.
But it's almost like somewhere in there you get lost where you're doing things for the other person. And I think it happens to the other partner too. Like they're doing things. And it's almost like this dance in the darkness where you're doing things that you don't want to do to make them happy, and they are doing the same. And all of a sudden, you're just hitting the wall, and they are hitting the wall too, because we just got disconnected throughout time, and now we're just doing completely different things, thinking that this is what the other person is thinking about, and that's where communication plays in. But how do you think you can break that kind of cycle?
Well, it boils down to what we've been talking about this whole time, which is the self-identity thing. Because here's the thing. When you understand who you truly are and you understand your self-identity, from that point forward, what ends up happening is you find out how your partner sees the way you see yourself. Because if you uphold yourself in a specific way, let's just say you're on point with self-identity, like you know who you are, you know your values, your standards, your boundaries, what's the role and responsibility of what a woman plays in your life, what are your roles and responsibilities as a masculine man that you play in her life. If you know the answer to all these things and it's very second nature to you, you then find out that yes, you will be accommodating, but you also know you're not going to overstep your accommodations. You're not going to just bend over backwards to the point where it's like, I'm not happy anymore.
Yeah.
So you know your limits, right? And if your partner, Axel, if she starts to say, well, you know, you don't do enough for me and all that kind of stuff, right? Well, then you know you're probably not, you may not be in the right relationship. You may not be in the right job. Like if you put in all your work and all your effort into like a company and they don't respect you, they don't see the value in you, because that's what my ex also didn't see. She didn't see the value in me. It's so funny, like even after we broke up, she sends these messages to me that she's like, you know, she told me very ungrateful messages. Like, you never provided an emotional connection for me. Like, she had a lot of I guess remorse for like us having to break up because she just felt guilty of something, whatever it was. But she told me, you never gave me any emotional connection, Cameron. And I looked at her, I'm like, my family opened their arms to you. My family took you on vacation, like all expenses pretty much paid. And I welcomed you into my home. I welcomed you I gave you so much love and compassion for your dog when you were away doing other things, like you were going to your retreats or you were going to your like classes for her personal endeavors that she was doing. I was taking care of her dog. Like where is the gratitude? Where is the compassion? So I think that what everyone has to understand is that if you just, again, you lack self-identity, you lack knowledge of who really truly you are, right? Then you put yourself in a situation where you're susceptible to abuse from people who are, I don't know if it's narcissistic, I guess, or sociopathic, but you just start to like kind of let yourself be vulnerable to the wrong people. So it's so important to be careful of who you give your personal life to. And not everyone's deserving of that. It's funny, like, again, I have family that's come up to me and they tell me, like, Cameron, you know, why don't you be friends with people from your older generation? And from like when you were younger. And I always tell them, well, some of these people that I've known, they no longer serve me because I remember the blatant disrespect that they put me through growing up. You think that's going to change when I'm an adult? No, it's the same thing. If they never treated me with respect back then, unless they literally, I see like monumental change, or like, hey man, Cameron, like I got to be honest with you, I'm ready to grow from like who I was before, and I know that I blatantly disrespected you and I don't want to be like that. I really want to cherish our friendship. I think then I could feel the genuine authenticity from them. But again, if you lack knowledge of yourself, you're really going to put yourself in a dangerous situation. You're susceptible to a bad boss, a bad girlfriend, bad friends, family members who are toxic, and you got to like sever ties from them because again, they're just not serving your best interest and your happiness. At the day, it's really all about your happiness, and people tend to really discount their happiness. I think the media, the world, not the world itself, but society has taught people to really just understand that your happiness comes second. That's why mantras like happy wife, happy life comes up, because you can't, if you're not happy, your wife can't be happy, right? And that's why like sometimes we were both in these situations, Axel, where we're very naturally nice people. And one of our not a drawback of being nice people, but it's more like a potential threat that can come up with being overly like accommodating like us, is that we are susceptible to people that are going to take advantage of it. But for the people like you and me, when we meet each other, we want to hook each other up. Information, events, like networking, like we're all about really hooking each other up because we're just genuinely good people and we're value exchange type guys, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to know the difference between like who is the one that's going to give you value and who's the one that's going to take advantage of your kindness and your empathy and you wanting to be hospitable towards them.
Yeah, and that's very tricky.